a playlist original.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster, another news episode for you. Kind of light today. We got some box office news to look at and a couple movies that are starting to get developed. And of course, as always, with us being in the springtime, trailers are seeing a little bit of an uptick. We got a lot of great stuff around the corner now that we're in May. I'm sure May will be a busy month for movie trailers, and we got a few to throw in today with our takes on them. A couple in particular I'm really excited to talk about. But first up is something, Gaius, that you have on here that I'm not sure that I'd seen anything about it, but looks like we're getting a remake of Urban Legend, which we actually just covered on one of our anniversary episodes not long ago, sometime last year, I believe.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. What do we know about it so far?
Well, there had been one in the works pre-COVID, and that one kind of fell apart, I guess, because of the pandemic and then the strikes. But I think because like Sony Pictures, Sony Screen Gems is doing this, I think because of maybe what they are seeing, maybe from early footage of like I Know You Did Last Summer, their remake of that or their legacy sequel to that,
Right.
they're like, hey, this is another property that we can maybe bank on. Let's do this again. So there is a Urban Legend remake that is in early development. And Shanra Wakefield is going to write the script, and Gary Duberman, who had a writing credit on the video game adaptation of Until Dawn that opened 2 weeks ago, is producing it. So at least he's just producing it. I heard. Yeah. I thought of that too when I saw it. I was like, oh, nothing about that movie looked interesting.
I agree.
I didn't play the game, and my brother does, and he said that they changed a lot, and like so I guess it's a faithful adaptation of the video game.
It did not seem to learn any of the lessons of the last couple of years. There's been a lot of great and well-received and profitable video game adaptations that have come out, and this one seems to, I hope it didn't undo any of those gains, but it definitely didn't follow any of the winning formulas that some of the others had. So it's a shame, but I heard the first half was actually interesting enough and scary enough, but I don't think it really modeled the video game at all. So that's, what are you doing at that point? Anyway, besides the case, that's interesting.
Yeah, and
I'd be game for a remake.
I'm down for it too. I mean, Neil H. Moritz, who was one of the producers on the original, he's in negotiations to also produce as well. There's no word on what the plot's going to be, but they said that they're aiming it to be an examination of what an urban legend looks like in a post-digital world. Duberman has also been behind as a producer and as a producer writer in some capacity. He has been involved with It, Annabelle, and The Nun in some capacity as well. So I mean that he does have some horror credibility. And for those that don't know, the original was directed by Jamie Blanks and written by Silvio Horta, and it was a movie set in New England University that featured a killer whose kills were inspired by popular urban legends. And cast back then was pretty stacked for the late 90s. Jared Leto, Joshua Jackson, Alicia Witt, Michael Rosenbaum, Rebecca Gayheart, and Tara Reid were all in it. It made a decent amount of money at the time. I think $72 million on a $14 million budget. Spawned this sequel called Urban Legends Final Cut, which is not as good. And then a straight-to-video third film called Urban Legends Bloody Mary that had nothing. Like, it's more of like a supernatural film than a slasher film. So I remember when we covered it on the show, you enjoyed it enough. You didn't think it was like great, but like it was fun for what it was.
For sure.
But I think we talked about it on that an episode that like it could be prime for like a remake. It could be that could be really done well with that, that overall premise. So like, what are your thoughts on them doing that?
I'm sure if we did chat about it and we talked about its premise as a remake, I'm sure I said the same thing that I'm about to say now, is that I would like to see it go the supernatural route, because that was kind of like where the movie did falter for me a little bit. Is like I dug the urban legends sort of nods, and I think that movie was best not as necessarily like a one serial killer slasher. I think I don't know how, and this is definitely easier said than done, but I would like to see this movie kind of lend itself to like supernatural sort of urban legends. I love slashers. It's a big genre of mine, but as far as like horror movies, I definitely tend to sway towards like supernatural horror. Like I think it could be strong, and there's a lot of great supernatural based urban legends out there. I like the post digital age kind of approach to it. I think that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's definitely ripe for a remake or a reimagining for sure. What are your initial thoughts? I know you're a fan of the original, but what do you
Yeah,
think about it being remade?
I'm cool with it being remade. I mean, it's not like it's even though it kind of came out in the wake of Scream, and I know you did last summer. I don't think it's like, especially in comparison to the Scream, it's not considered like a classic in that regard. Like it, because it does have some flaws, it. But I think the overall idea, and then when it came out, I think that's why it's so popular amongst like uh the demographic that kind of grew up with it back when it came out in 98. So like, but I still think there is room for improvement. If you I actually don't mind the supernatural route if they actually did, if it was like a kind of like remake in name only, and they went more like supernatural, having a supernatural element to creating the
Yeah,
urban legends and all that. I think that'd be fun. But if they decide to do the whole, serial killer thing again, I think that could also be fun too, to kind of take the urban legend premise and adapt it for, like they said, like the post, digital world. So I think it's there's some good ideas in there. I mean, like it can't really, I guess a lot of people were saying online that they wanted to be like a legacy sequel, but I don't, like Rebecca Gayheart and all them, like I don't know if, like, because like at the end of the movie, because of the nature of the film being like an urban legend, and like, well, oh, is the story that we're seeing, is this like the true story, or was it just like someone telling their version of a story that got passed down to them? And you see Rebecca Gayheart's character, who is, sorry, spoiler alert, guys, if we haven't seen the 1998 film, like she's revealed to be the killer at the end, and then at the very end, her character is seen another group of college kids are telling the story that we just saw, and then ends the movie with her saying, like, well, let me tell you how the story really happened, which is kind of a clever way of saying, like, that's how urban legends kind of travel. They all change from person to person. So I don't know if it can be like I don't think a legacy sequel for that would work. I think the idea of doing legacy sequels for these horror films is, I mean, just because it works for like Halloween and Scream, and maybe it'll work for I Know You Did Last Summer. That trailer did look pretty decent. It looks like it might work. I don't think it works for all of them, because I don't really think that even with a fan base and a cult following, like, I don't think there's a desire to see, like, oh, what happened to Alicia Witt's character after this? And Jared Leto like disregards the movie entirely, so he's not going to be a part of a legacy sequel.
Okay.
So I think a remake is like the best way to do it.
I agree.
It's not a classic enough that people will be like, oh, like it can't be remade, like don't touch it. I think
I agree.
It's room for improvement, and like I do agree a supernatural twist on it would have been like, it would be interesting. But I have a feeling, based on Sony doing it and them seeing like maybe early footage from I Know You Did Last Summer, and then the reaction to that trailer, I think they probably want more of the same. It being like a teen slasher movie. So like I think they're gonna go that route. But even if they did, they could make it fun, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I knew exactly why we were getting it when we heard the news. I was like, oh, this seems like a direct answer to. And now also I feel extra old because all these movies from when I was younger are being remade now. Like that's being remade. We talked about The Faculty getting a remake on the show not too long ago.
Right.
We got I Know You Did Last Summer legacy sequel. We've been getting Scream legacy sequels now.
There's not many more IPs left.
I know. I think it was Mark. I know. I think Mark or someone was like, "Oh, why should you get like Disturbing Behavior?" And like that's like, once you start going to like to the lower tier, late '90s teen horror movies that didn't really do that well, that's gonna be so bad. So I hope this is like the last of them that they can grab from. But I guess that's what happens. Though. Like every generation has their movies, and they just don't. Maybe because I grew up with them, they don't feel old enough to really remake them on and all that. But I guess they are. Like they're 25, 26 years old, so they are right for it. That doesn't make me feel any less old.
No.
Knowing that they're now remaking horror movies from when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old. So
I'm sure someday I'll experience the same thing, and I will wonder at how this is even happening. But
yeah. Well, just know it's a very weird feeling. There it is. It's very bizarre.
I can only imagine. This next one, I'm a little surprised to see, only because I didn't watch the one from last year. I heard it. I think it did all right with Amazon, but Guy Ritchie is coming back to direct Roadhouse 2, the Jake Gyllenhaal version.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit like, even though I haven't seen the original Roadhouse, like it's been on my radar for a long time. I'm a big Patrick Swayze fan. Like it's coming down the pipeline eventually, but I was definitely hesitant to like an Amazon original remake of this movie. I just didn't really appeal to me. But I think the first one was popular enough. I did have a few friends that I heard that they went out to watch it and like were talking about it more than the average streaming original. So I guess it
Yeah.
was semi popular. It must have done well for them to do. And did Guy Ritchie did the first one?
No, yeah, he actually was not
Oh
involved in
no.
that. It was Doug Liman who
Oh
he
yeah,
actually
yes.
he infamously had a big major disagreement with Amazon because
Right.
I
I
guess
remember all this now. Yeah.
when he signed on, it was supposed to be like a theatrical release, and then there was a whole issue like, well, if we make it for this much money, we can go theatrical, but if you want this budget, then it's going to be just a streaming exclusive. And he made that big hoopla about not going to the South by Southwest premiere, but he ended up going anyway.
Right. We covered all that. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I remember
movie
that.
was deemed a success by Amazon. They said that last March it broke records for the streamer, attracting nearly 80 million worldwide viewers in its first 8 weeks to become the studio's most watched produced film debut ever on a worldwide basis. And I saw it. It's fun for what it was. I think like people like Jake Gyllenhaal, they're in their fun movie era. Ryan Gosling,
Yeah.
he's going through that now too.
Right.
And
Definitely.
it certainly wasn't like it is what it is. I mean, you got Conor McGregor in it, and that's as well. So
Man,
what you
his
see is what.
promo for that movie, like he was going through some stuff. It's actually sad to watch him promote the first one alongside Jake Gyllenhaal, like clearly
Yeah,
suffering from like substance abuse. It was crazy. I remember
yeah,
watching that after. It was very probably a little bit of a moderate spoiler. I don't imagine his character will be returning in the sequel.
yeah. I don't think so either. And I think Jake
Okay.
Gyllenhaal is. I think this is what I didn't realize. I guess because I knew this, but I didn't realize it. Um, so it was like fully pointed out to me. But this movie will mark the third collaboration between Gyllenhaal and Guy Ritchie. They did The Covenant together, and then they
Nice.
also collaborated on the upcoming action thriller In the Gray. So they this. I mean, clearly they have a good working relationship together. Um,
Nice.
and the first one, as we know, is a reboot of the 1989 classic starring Patrick Swayze, and they follow Gyllenhaal as a former UFC fighter struggling to make ends meet. After the owner of a Florida Keys Roadhouse finds him sleeping in his car, his character becomes the bar's bouncer and finds himself roped into a war of outlaws and bikers. And a development determined to build a lavish resort for rich assholes, according to the plot synopsis of the first film.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it's interesting. It kind of fits Guy Ritchie's sensibilities, though. I can see him doing like some fun action with it, and like it also seems
Definitely.
like a fun
He's a
collaboration between.
capable action director and like does a great blend of action and comedy as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, maybe I don't know.
oh.
We'll have to see. I'll more than likely than not watch the original before I check out
you're like
the remake.
I'm so not convinced.
I'm pretty sure my buddy Cam watched it and had a good time with it. I feel like I could be misquoting though, but somebody I know watched it and didn't mind it. But we'll have to see. But
Yeah,
in any case,
yeah.
we got I'm as I say, I'm
I'm
on Guy Ritchie's IMDb and I don't see it in his upcoming. But
oh, and it's like in development stuff.
no, In the Gray is there. Yeah, his in development projects. There's only two. One of them being In the Gray, which sounds really cool. I just read the synopsis. That sounds great. And The Covenant, his previous collaboration with Jake Gyllenhaal, was an awesome movie from 2023.
And
Yeah,
also
2023. That
made
movie was
also
great.
didn't do all that great box office wise, but it was really well received. Like Guy Ritchie's last two movies have been really well received critically. Like some have done well box office wise, but like he's been on a good run
Yeah,
creatively with critics. I mean, because like his, he could be a little all over the place sometimes, but lately he's had a pretty good streak. So good for
very
him.
active director as well. He did two movies in 2023, which are crazy, and he's been very active throughout the 2010s. Like, he did actually have a pretty big hiatus in 2008 to 2015, but from 2015 on, he has been hammering out movies. Love to see it.
Yeah, that's awesome. This next story is more of a comment on what we mentioned this. By the time
Yes.
you hear this, the Sinners episode will be out by the time you guys hear this. And one of the things that we mentioned was a variety piece where they talked about the film's box office in a kind of negative way, because it only opened to $48 million and it has a $90 million budget, and international numbers weren't that strong yet, and so it had a long road to profitability according to Variety. And then a lot of people, Ben Stiller being one of the most notable people, kind of retweeted that story and said that how wrong that was to label an original film in the marketplace that opened that well and try to view it as a disappointment, that was not the right way to go. And in the subsequent weeks since we recorded that and Variety wrote that story, Sinners has had a impressive box office run that for any movie, especially for the horror genre, but for any movie, $48 million its first weekend, and then in weekend 2 it only dropped 4.8% and made $45.7 million.
Wow.
Its third weekend, this past weekend, even with the arrival of Thunderbolts and Thunderbolts taking its IMAX screens, it made $33.1 million, only dropped 27% from the second weekend. It has made 179.8 million domestically and 237.3 million worldwide. I think even
Wild.
with the competition incoming, and there's not really a ton. Thunderbolts did well this weekend, but like we have a weekend with nothing really opening huge this weekend, and then there's more stuff coming. But I think this thing is going to have a pretty good legs. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets close to 300 million domestic, just based on the legs it has now. It brought up an interesting debate, though. I mean, after a certain amount of weeks, they had those IMAX screens for 2 weeks, and they had to give them up to Thunderbolts. They worked out a deal to re-release it on 70 millimeter IMAX on the weekend of May 15th, and those showings sold out immediately and crashed AMC's website.
I saw that. That is great, crazy legs on this movie, and it's actually like unprecedented. It sounds like.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you two questions. One, should they rework these deals with IMAX on like how long a film could? I think Nolan is the only one that works out deals that are longer than 2 weeks for some of his IMAX stuff, and there's a reason for that. He films a lot exclusively with their cameras, and like he's a proven success for their format. So I wanted to ask you that, like, what do you think if there should be a change with that? And also, this might be an obvious question, but what do you think is causing the overall like success? Like my parents saw Sinners, and my parents they are no horror movie people at all, like whatsoever. But I think part of it is maybe because I think a lot of people aren't really viewing it as a horror movie, and they're viewing it as a whole collective experience. It's about a lot of different things. But that's just my take on it. But I wanted to see what you hear about. Wanted to hear about the IMAX stuff, and then why it's doing so well.
I think it's an interesting idea to kind of negotiate with IMAX about it coming back to the screens. I don't really know like the inner workings of how like the release strategy with IMAX and all that, so I guess I don't have much of an opinion there. I think if you have a movie that's obviously performing really well like Sinners is, and like Nolan's movies are bound to, like, it makes sense to bring them back in that format for people to view. Like if I had an IMAX theater anywhere near me, I would absolutely be going back to see it in IMAX. So I think it's interesting to open it up as an option. As far as like why it's doing well, I wanted to say like it's had great word of mouth. It's made by a really talented director that is known for making movies that are beloved by people that follow him. Like, but that's like it's not like he's not the only guy that's had a big audience that has made a movie that has that good word of mouth, and not every original action horror movie does this well at the box office. So I don't know that I really know what is so different or special about Sinners. It is absolutely a special movie. It's my favorite so far that's come out this year. I imagine it'll rank very high in my list overall from this year. I've heard nothing but praise for it. I've told people to go see it. It's definitely an incredible movie, but there's been a lot of incredible movies that haven't performed this well. So I don't know that I've really made up my mind for what it is or what's so different. But do you have any ideas? You said that it might have been an obvious question, but to me, I'm kind of struggling to come up with an answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might. I think I am happy for it too, and I think it is a combination of a lot of things. I think when we talk about original movies in the marketplace, and I know we had some good ones. I mean, we agreed like Companion, I thought was probably, as of now, would be in my top 10 right now. It will probably change with a lot of stuff coming out later, but like I thought that was a really good original movie. I watched Black Bag, and that was a really good original movie too. That I thought was pretty amazing, and I like Novocaine. That was fun as well, but they didn't do all that great financially, and like I'm trying to figure out what makes them different from this, and I think a lot of things have to happen. I think that one that, you know, a lot of these movies need to also become like an event, kind of like a pop cultural event where like you feel like you need to be a part of it, and you feel like if you don't watch it, you're missing out on something. I mean, we saw that with like Barbie and Oppenheimer and all that stuff when that was working together, you know, like it becoming its own thing, like the whole Barbenheimer thing became a craze. And I think that's why a lot of people latched onto it. I think that there was something about the way people reacted to Sinners that opening weekend that made people realize like, oh, this is much more than a horror film. It's much more than just one thing. And it opened itself up to a much bigger audience that wouldn't normally see something like this. So I think that's why it is doing well. And on top of the fact that it's such a great movie, too, I
Hmm.
think that has a lot to do with it. And someone said that when Ryan Coogler did that video stressing the importance of the IMAX showings and demonstrating why and how it would look different in 7mm IMAX compared to like standard screenings. I think a lot of people looked at that tutorial and were like, okay, I want to see it the best way I can
Hmm.
possibly see it. That's why those screenings did well. And that's why for that, you know, re-engagement re-release on those screens, it already sold out. So I think that was another, he kind of really sold people on the difference of seeing the movie in the best format possible. I'm just glad that now they say it's looking at maybe a $400 million worldwide gross by the end of its run.
That would
That didn't
be
look like
incredible.
that didn't look like the case in its first weekend, even though I knew it opened well. You know, we were concerned about international audiences not picking up on it, and we
Hmm.
both agree that that could be because it feels like just an American movie. It doesn't really
Right.
there's not a lot of appeal in that regard. But I think even overseas people are picking up on it being a good movie. Um, and even with all this upcoming summer movie competition, the fact that it'll still, I think, have legs and do well. Like that's why I don't think $300 million is out of the question domestically. And even if it's not that,
Hmm.
it'll be still in the high 200. So like that, I don't know if the people involved even saw that coming, but I'm glad it did. I'm glad it's gonna make money. I'm glad it's gonna pull in a profit and not just break even. I'm just really excited that it did well, no matter what the reason
Yeah,
is. So
exactly. And I hope it continues to do well. And again, this, I would hope that this enables Ryan Coogler and hopefully the studio too feels good about maybe expanding on this story. I think there's a lot of prequel material in what he's built up, specifically with the brothers that Michael B. Jordan
yeah,
plays. Like there was so much in this movie, and I said it when we reviewed the movie that even if you eliminate the horror angle in this movie, there's so much to love, and I think it even has legs of its own. And I would really, really hope that the box office performance kind of enables some more in this
yeah,
universe. I think it's great as a standalone as well, and you rarely would hear me advocate for something like this, and I don't think I would if I didn't love the movie as much as I do.
yeah.
But let's just hope that we get a little bit more, and I hope Ryan Coogler clears the schedule because I think he really has a massive win on his hands, like creatively and obviously financially. So
Yeah,
it's great to
and
see.
he made the studio very happy. Warner Brothers needed some wins. I mean, I know they got one with
Oh,
the
that's
Minecraft
right.
movie.
I forgot
Uh,
this was Warner. I don't even know
Warner
if I knew that in
Brother.
the first place, but oh my God,
Yeah,
they're probably singing and dancing right now because you're right. They have gone through some hard times in the last couple of years.
yep. And they baked, you know, good for them. They baked on the original idea. It worked. I think it's going to play well throughout the whole summer, and I'm glad it's doing as well as it is. And I'm happy for everyone involved. And uh, also, it proves that there's room for all these movies in the marketplace. Like, you know, Thunderbolts opened this weekend. It did well, and like that, and Sinners was able to continue to do well despite losing all of its IMAX screens. So, you know, I thought it was going to have a bigger drop this weekend just because of that, but that didn't matter, I guess. So, oh, good on them. Um, Speaking of Thunderbolts, I saw it over the on Thursday. Um, Top tier MCU movie for me though. It's really really good, and I think it's because it. Yes, there is a nice little post credit scene that does set up something pretty decent, and but I think
Yep.
because it felt like much like some of the better ones lately, like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 or Spider Man or No Way Home or even something like Shang-Chi, it felt much more standalone than like setting up something bigger.
Okay.
Like, and I think that's why it works. And also, it has like I know I don't know if we did it on the show or if I did it offline with you or maybe I was talking to someone else, but like one of the comments made about the movie was that it was the A24 equivalent to MCU superhero movie, and I thought that was a
Okay.
dumb weird comment at the time, but it's more character driven and emotionally driven than I thought it was going to be. It says a lot about like loneliness and like people who have like suicidal ideology, like the stuff you wouldn't think you would see in a big summer movie, and they
Right.
were able to throw that in there with and not make it preachy, but actually make it work for the story. And like I was surprised by just how well they handled it. So bravo to you, Marvel, for because you guys also needed to win
That's right. Yeah.
after a rough patch. It made $74 million over the weekend, did well, $162 million
Jeez.
worldwide. But they did something today, which I thought was interesting. Some people,
I've been seeing this as
some
well.
people thought this was shitty because they think it's a big spoiler. Other people thought it was a good marketing campaign. In the movie, by the end of it, which everyone's been wondering, like it's called Thunderbolts, but there's an asterisk at the end of it. They were like, "Oh, what's the asterisk for?" And by the end of the movie, I mean, I'm sure I'm not really spoiling anything for you. Like, I know if you're going to go see it anytime soon, but by the end, they get labeled the New Avengers at the end of the movie.
I had heard this,
and then like in the credits, the Thunderbolts name comes up, and then it's swiped away to be called the New Avengers. But today, they actually had the cast unveil the official title as the New Avengers. They actually did a cool marketing thing with Sebastian Stan walking around with a bunch of posters and replacing the posters where it just says Thunderbolts with actual posters that say the New Avengers, like in random places in LA. They actually been taking down all the billboards and stuff that had the Thunderbolts logo on it. It's now the New Avengers. It's changed everywhere. Some people thought it was brilliant. Some people thought that was a huge spoiler to do after the film's opening weekend because like maybe everyone can't see it opening weekend. But I want to know what your thoughts on it were, and then I'll read what the director said about their choice to do it. But do you think that was like a bold move to do that after opening weekend, or was it smart marketing?
Well, I think it's bold to do in general because again, I haven't seen the movie, but that being said, like from what I gather as like I wouldn't even really consider myself like a new age MCU fan anymore. I'm so out of touch with the franchise, but like I have seen I did see the Black Widow movie, so I have exposure to like Florence Pugh's character Yelena and Red Guardian.
Yeah.
And obviously Bucky, seen lots of movies where his character's featured in. I didn't see Falcon and the Winter Soldier though, which introduced like the new Captain America, John Walker, and I didn't see the second Ant-Man, which had Ghost in it.
Ant-Man.
So I'm just thinking, I just found myself thinking like, I think it's bold to kind of champion this group of like ragtag misfits, which is what the movie like promotes and stuff to be as the New Avengers. Like I was under the illusion that the next like line of Avengers have been like all the younger versions or the younger counterparts of the old Avengers that have been kind of showcased in their own movies and the MCU TV shows over the last several years. So I came to me as a big surprise, and a gamble is kind of like my initial thoughts about it because I don't know how. Obviously, the movie's done well opening weekend, but this is like amongst mostly misses over the like a post Endgame period. Like as you mentioned, there's definitely been some standouts and some well received hits like Guardians 3 and the Spider movies are always going to do well, of course. But I thought it was just like I was surprised. I actually thought it was kind of just a marketing gimmick, like a sort of like a tongue in cheek reference to something in the movie. But I guess this is now confirmation to me that is like genuinely how they're marketing like the Thunderbolts team is like they're going to be the next Avengers. Like I guess I'm surprised by it because I just feel like aren't like very few of them even like have super abilities.
Powers, So
I just think like
some of them are like super soldiers, but like Elena, like they're human. Red Guardian, like they're not like there's no Thor.
Right. I find myself wondering how they're going because obviously like it's no surprise like Doctor Doom is the next big bad for the future of the MCU. He's coming. I find myself wondering how, and I know that obviously like this group of like 5 or 6 of them are going to be like the only heroes going forward that feature in it, but I find them almost like a little bit underprepared than like our previous Avengers cast in terms of like abilities and ability to take down like otherworldly threats. I thought it was an interesting. I think that they're marketing as like the ragtag group, almost like the Suicide Squad. Like I thought they were a good counterpart in that regard. I'm surprised that they're going all in, especially this early after the opening weekend. Like I'm to those that are like angry that they didn't get the chance to see it opening weekend and now it's being, I don't know how much of a spoiler I would consider it. really. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I would be up in arms about that, but I guess bold is definitely one way to pitch it. But
Yeah.
what do you think? Do you think that, like, I know you saw it, you're a fan of it, and it's doing well. Do you think like that is? Are they worthy of the title? I guess would you say, or
So
what do you make of all the other Avengers characters that don't
here's what
have
I
this
think
moniker now?
is going to happen, and this is just like a theory. So the character Valentina, who was played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the movie, like she got it.
Yep.
I forgot when she got introduced, but she's in Wakanda Forever. I want to say that's the first time they introduced her character, but I'm trying to think if she was featured anywhere else. I know she's on, I think, Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well.
Right.
She is, they give her layers, but she's not a good person. Like she's certainly out for her own agenda
Right.
and all
She's
that.
the real villain, I guess, is what I've heard.
And by the end of it, when this whole thing with like Lewis Pullman Sentry goes wrong, they end up fixing it, of course. But he nearly wipes out most of New York City, like as is the case in most of these movies.
Yes.
But she kind of like creates like this kind of media frenzy and introduces them as the new Avengers, where they're kind of like on the spot to be labeled that way, and where they can't really like once that happens, it's like, okay, we have to go with this because of like circumstances. And like Yelena's character says like whispers in her ear like, oh, we own you now, basically, like because you're doing this, you kind of have to do what we want you to do. But I think what ends up happening in the post-credit scene, Bucky, Sebastian Stan makes a comment to Yelena that there is tension between him and Sam Wilson because he has a cameo in the last Captain America movie, and they are getting along there. And this post-credit scene, it says that there's tension between them and he's not speaking with him. I'm wondering if because of how these new Avengers were created and it involves Valentina and maybe Sam Wilson does have his own Avengers team, if there's tension because of that. And that's what like kind of the thinking I kind of had, because like I don't know why you would have that dialogue about them not speaking to each other unless there was some kind of tension because of what happens by the end of the movie. So I think that is what is happening. And I'm assuming that because all these Avengers, new and old, are going to be in Doomsday, that they'll have to work together to, defeat this. Like,
that's plausible.
But I don't know for sure. That's just a theory. As far as it being a spoiler, I guess it would be like when they revealed the new Avengers name, it didn't feel like something that was like, it was like one of those things that was like, oh, it wasn't like a whoa kind of like surprise at the end, because I was wondering what the asterisk was at the end. I was like, why are they having an asterisk at the end of the Thunderbolts name? And then when they revealed it, I was like, oh, that's clever. That's like cute.
Right.
That's what I kind of thought of it at the end of it. But I guess I can see the frustration. Like you don't get to see something opening weekend, whatever the reason is, and by the time you sign on the internet on Monday, it's I full on having the cast unveil it at like ripping like part of the poster off to reveal the title, and then having Sebastian Stan do this like thing where he's hanging up posters. Like it's like a huge like marketing blitz that you won't be able to miss. So I guess shitty for people that didn't get to see it opening weekend, but I think it's also smart marketing too.
I think it's smart because it's not going to keep people that are maybe upset about it away from the theater. It's probably just going to drive more people to the theater. So I think it makes sense. But
yeah,
I thought it was interesting. I guess initially I didn't think that team of characters, again, who like have maybe featured in a movie or two at most. I guess I didn't realize from the context of the movie. I just didn't think that they had like the star power to like be the next Avengers, but I think you're on to something with maybe there will be a couple Avengers teams or something. But they also don't strike me as Avengers material. Most of them are villains or anti-heroes. So I thought that was interesting as well. But
yeah, and Lewis Pullman said they filmed that ending scene two ways. They filmed it with the background actors saying like with her introducing them as the Thunderbolts, and then they had all the background actors leave, and it was a closed set, and then they revealed their names as the new Avengers. So there was some, I guess, secrecy for it, at least before the opening weekend. And the director said about them doing this way in the marketing now, they said it felt like if Julia Louis-Dreyfus Val is also trying to pull a switcheroo and sell the new Avengers to the world, we could do that too, especially given that the actress has been on the movie for a year. Hopefully it doesn't feel sweaty. It feels like this was a plan and we built up to it. He said it's so interesting in this world, and Kevin Feige talks about it sometimes, where sometimes they want things to leak and sometimes they don't want things to leak. I think we all assumed that it would be a bigger part of the conversation already, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. So he was like, no big deal to him. I'm glad it was like a creative decision that he supported because like sometimes I can see the company being like, let's do it this way, and the director's like, nah, I don't want to do that. But I think it's smart. I just also can see why people are peeved by it. But I mean, now they might sell it to people who are like, who are the Thunderbolts? And now they're like, oh, they're the new Avengers. So like maybe we'll go see that now. You know, I think that's maybe the thinking of it too. Like, so I think it works for them either way.
Yeah. And I think it's gonna bring regardless, any publicity is gonna be, I think, good for engagement and for ticket sales probably. So whether or not, again, I don't think that somebody that didn't see it opening weekend that sees this reveal it's gonna turn them off enough to not go see it if they were gonna go see it in the first place. So ultimately, I think it's probably gonna pay off, and I guess we'll see what kind of legs it has after this coming weekend. And I guess we'll be able to chat about if that was a good decision or not after. But I'm optimistic, I guess, that it'll be just fine for them. But yeah, it sounds like it had a really solid opening weekend, so that's good.
Yeah, and honestly, 88% Rotten Tomatoes and a good audience score. It's like one of the better received MCU movies in a while. So
we needed that. That's for sure.
And I think the big win will be Fantastic Four. That'll be the big test. That's in July. So we shall see.
That might be that one that I'm gonna go see, honestly, because I'm intrigued by it for sure. And I'm under no illusion it's going to be a standalone, obviously. But at least like the trailers have shown it that way, and it's the introduction to this rendition of the team, and I like that it'll be a fairly self-contained story until probably like the post-credits scene. So that's enough. I don't feel like I have to do any homework to go see that movie, and that's appealing to somebody like me that hasn't kept up with the MCU post Endgame. Yeah. So
a part of me like wishes I could be a casual fan of the MCU like you, because like you're fine with like, I don't need to see that. I could skip this one. I'm so all in. I'm like, no matter if it looks not that great or
I
have to go. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
It's so too much of a it's too much of a investment for me at this point. Yeah. And then this is the 36th movie Thunderbolts was?
Yeah.
Holy smokes, man.
It's crazy. Yeah. And that's all been since 2008.
Yeah. Pretty crazy run. Keeping in tradition with superhero related movie news, I was surprised to hear this, and then we had spoken tail end of our last episode about the news, but Luca Guadagnino's Sergeant Rock movie, which was going to be an early release for the up and coming DC universe, has been canceled. So I guess you know a little bit more about it than I do at this point. I heard conflicting information. So is it not just that Luca Guadagnino walked away from it as the director, or is the entire movie shelved?
They're saying the entire movie's scrapped, and I know a lot of people when he got announced as a director said that he was an odd choice for this.
100% he is. Yeah.
Daniel Craig was initially attached to it at one point, and then he dropped out. And then they said DC Studios has halted development on the World War II action film Sergeant Rock, which was set to star Colin Farrell and be directed by Luca Guadagnino. The project, based on the classic DC Comics character, is no longer moving forward as planned. They say some sources say it could be revisited in the future with a possible new production start in summer 2026, but nothing is confirmed. The movie was in pre-production and preparing to film in England this summer. It begun casting Mike Feist, who was in Challengers last year, was considered for a role as a member of the Easy Company, and they were like into it. They said the main reason for the shutdown appears to be scheduling conflicts, particularly the need for an extensive outdoor filming in the UK during the summer. The production could not meet the required timeline, and filming in the winter was not considered feasible. The film's budget, reportedly under $70 million, was not a factor in the decision. Some insiders also mentioned that studio executives had concern about Guadagnino's lack of experience with large-scale action films, which may have influenced the decision to pause the project.
Yeah, honestly, I love Luca Guadagnino and his movies. I think he's a very capable director, but I don't feel like this is his wheelhouse, and this is something that I guess I would praise DC and Warner Bros. For recognizing that, because Marvel's experimented in bringing like indie filmmakers into these humongous star-studded blockbuster budgeted action movies, and it's not paid off. And I just don't see why, because you think somebody can make a lower budgeted, like great indie movie, why that necessarily translates to $200 million action blockbuster. Like those are just not the same thing. So I think it's interesting in the first place that he was even not cast, but slated to direct. So I think a little bit of caution would be, I guess, fitting here. So I'm
It
curious.
was
I think it's an
it was head
interesting
scratching for
premise.
me. Yeah, it was head scratching for me because I was like,
Yeah,
well, at the time when Daniel Craig was attached, I was like, well, I guess it makes sense. They just make queer together. Maybe they want to do
right,
this together. But then
right.
even then, I was like, it's still. I mean, maybe he can make a big budget, or even like, I mean, that $7 million is huge, but like maybe he can make an action film like this, and he hasn't in them. But I was like, it doesn't seem like it's in his wheelhouse, and a lot of people were skeptical that it was going to move forward because of that. And
Okay.
I kind
No,
of
they
feel like
were right.
I kind of feel like all these other excuses are just convenient with like the filming start time and summer versus winter and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad they scrapped it instead of like moving forward with something that they didn't think would work. So
right. I hope they bring it
there's
back
that.
because honestly, the like pitch of that movie sounds really interesting. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
All right, we got trailers and there's some good ones.
Yes, starting off with Weapons, Zach Kreger's follow-up to Barbarian from 2022. So I was hesitant to watch the trailer. There was a great tiny little teaser that was dropped, which basically just showed like doorbell camera footage of like the kids,
Kids running away from home.
running and then like disappearing. But basically I was hesitant to watch the trailer because I didn't want any spoilers. I'm like super intrigued by this movie. I loved Barbarian, so I'm really excited for Kreger's follow up to it. And I'm
Yeah,
happy to report that the trailer wasn't. I mean, yeah, it gave us glimpses of some stuff that's going to happen, but nothing like with context. Like, there's no. We pretty much know the same amount that we did from that little teaser. Essentially, that just a bunch of kids from this town go missing overnight, and parents are starting to point fingers, and everyone wants answers,
yeah,
and it's very mysterious. And the trailer doesn't spoil really anything. So I was pretty happy about that. And man, that is a really well marketed movie so far. I'm one of the
yeah.
movies I'm
I'm
most
all
hyped
in.
for this year. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. Were you a big
Oh,
Barbarian fan?
oh yeah, I love Barbarian. I'm so mad there's no
Nice.
physical release of it.
I know
So,
it's coming to Netflix though on like next month, I think. So that's a bonus.
oh, good
But
timing
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
we do need a physical release of that movie big time.
Yeah, I really like the new trailer. I'm glad I didn't give everything away. By one of the first things I thought about, because we talked about that small teaser when I thought of you when this one came out, because I was like, oh, I wonder if they're going to reveal too much and he's not going to want to watch the trailer, but it actually didn't reveal like much of
No.
anything at all. I dug the creepy kid narration over it because like they're kind of telling that
Yeah.
story of like what happens on this particular like Wednesday and kind of setting up the scene of what happens. And then it's just a series of like scenes that really are all out of context. So you don't really know
Yeah.
what is happening.
But
Um,
they build the dread and suspense, and I was happy for that.
and like what I like that you like about the overall story and like at least the feel of it, the whole idea of like having this like event at a certain time at night and on a certain day where all these kids go missing. There's something about it. I know this is like a horror movie and there's gonna be like a horror, like kind of maybe supernatural, whatever, like leaning on why this is happening. But there's also something that feels very real about it that makes it unsettling too. Like
Yeah.
like that's what that's what got to me about the first teaser with the kids and the re ring cam footage and all that. So I love
Yeah.
that they're still selling that aspect of it. That feels like something that could very well happen, but I'm sure there will be more reasons as to why this is
Yeah.
occurring. And they'll probably maybe need to explain why the movie is even called Weapons. I don't know if they'll actually
I
like.
can't wait to find out what that title means, and I'm sure we won't be disappointed. Because I
Yeah,
remember feeling the same thing about Barbarian, and the marketing of that movie didn't really allude to anything about that.
yeah,
And then the movie, of course, sort of gives us a little something. But I'm excited for what Weapons is ultimately going to mean as a movie title.
yep. And it opens on August 8th, so I'll be here before we know it, guys. Uh, Up next, we have the Smashing Machine. I actually have been looking forward to seeing some glimpses of this, besides the one photo they have been sharing of The Rock or Dwayne Johnson looking very, very different.
Yes,
In this movie, it's A24 release. Directed by one of the Safdie brothers,
yes, a Benny Safdie solo effort.
and Emily Blunt co-starring again with Dwayne Johnson. They like working together apparently.
Yeah,
It looks good, and he looks like he might be pretty good in it.
it
And
looks
if they maybe
great.
maybe if they sell it right, I can't believe we might actually live in a world where like there might be like Oscar talk for Dwayne Johnson, but here we
At least
are.
the movie, his performance, and it does look good. Like I feel like he actually, this is one of, if not the first, to me, it seems like the first like genuine display of his actual acting talents. I've not seen
Yeah,
Dwayne Johnson in a movie where he's not playing Dwayne Johnson or some caricature of
exactly.
himself. Like, yeah, he plays like a dramatic action role here and there, but it's nothing like to be taken seriously. I don't think like Fast X or like that character that like Hobbs in the Fast movies
Yeah,
is about as serious as I think he ever takes himself. But yeah, his performance is Mark Kerr, who I don't know a whole lot about. I know early UFC champion, and my buddy Cam is huge in the UFC. He's very familiar with the story. Apparently,
no,
Mark Kerr is a figure steeped in tragedy. This has the hallmarks of like a
the Iron
Oscar
Claw.
worthy. Yeah, exactly. It feels like the wrestler meets the Iron Claw in a little bit, I guess, kind of like that story.
Yeah,
And I think it has all the hallmarks of a great drama. And I'm honestly excited to see this side of Dwayne Johnson. It's been about time that he kind of move his career in this kind of direction and step away from like the mindless one-off jungle-based action movies. I'm glad to see
yeah,
him kind of
yeah,
the dramatic corner. So I'm actually excited for this. And an A24 movie, like, it has everything in it that I'm looking forward to. And love the Safdie brothers, love Benny Safdie in particular. So I'm
yeah,
excited to see what he can do solo without his brother. I feel like this is his
yeah.
first movie solo without
I
his
believe
brothers.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just know because above all else, Dwayne Johnson is a very good self-marketer of his movies. Um,
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
I'm just wondering what a Mark Dwayne Johnson Oscar campaign is going to look like because I'm sure there's going to be one. I mean, like it seems like they're positioning for that. I mean, it comes out on October 3rd, which is like the right time to do it.
Yeah. That's perfect.
And like if the movie is good and he actually proves himself to be like a pretty solid actor, then I think that hey, I mean, I'll be all for it getting recognition for it if he's really good in it. And like, there's certain scenes of the trailer where they're like, I think towards the end, he's having like this like intense kind of argument with Emily Blunt's character where I was like, oh, he actually might be actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Not just using his charisma to sell a part. So
Right.
I'm all for it. I mean, I know we talk about him. If it seems like negatively, I don't have anything against him. I just hate it. I just don't like the one trick pony thing that was starting to happen with his career, where it was just like, oh, he's doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think maybe even he identified that, and that's why his next few projects feel like they're going to be different. Like you got this, and you have this thing he's doing with Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio. So he
Yes.
seems aware that he needed to make a change, and he might that change won't be forever. I'm sure he'll go back to doing the
Oh,
stuff that
yeah.
we know it for. But like I think he needs to prove to maybe himself and the industry that he can do something else. So it looks like he's gonna get that chance.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was humbled by his Black Adam experience. And again, like I
Yeah.
know it's not that I have, well, kind of, I do have a little bit of a bitter taste when it comes to Dwayne Johnson because I feel like he leverages his power and influence in Hollywood and kind of can be a bully behind the scenes from some
Yeah.
reports. But I feel like working with, you know, a movie where it's not like the Dwayne Johnson marketing show, I think will force him to sort of kind of be more of a team player as far as like the production. And I'm looking forward to that, Dwayne Johnson, just somebody that, is it's not all just about him. I'm interested to see what he can contribute to a multi-talented effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm
Agreed.
excited to see that side of him, and all the power to him. I hope the movie does really well. October 3rd, seeing it sounds really far away, and I'm really excited for it because that first trailer was great.
Yep. This next trailer. No, I don't think you're overly excited for the movie because I don't know if you're not even a big fan of the Now You See Me
I've only seen the
franchise.
first one, yeah, and it
Um,
wasn't really for me.
it's like they're like fun comfort food for me. I don't think they're great, but like this
Right.
cast is fun. It's like, but they finally released a trailer for Now You See Me, Now You Don't, which is the third film in the Now You See Me franchise. Um, I thought the trailer looked fun. I mean, it actually looks like more of the same. Um, like
Yeah,
like
kind of.
if you watch the trailer for the first movie, the second movie, it's same vibe. Except we're getting new characters on top of the ones that we already met. We have Jesse Eisenberg returning, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, Isla Fisher, who wasn't in the second movie, but she was in the first one. Morgan Freeman. They're being joined by Justice Smith, Dominic Sessa, who was in The Holdovers, and Ariana Greenblatt, and Rosamund Pike is also in the cast. I don't think Rosamund Pike is one of the musicians. I think, but at least judging from the trailer. And this is going to be the first one that Mark Ruffalo and Michael Caine are in. They were in the first two movies as well. Um,
Okay.
It looks fun. I don't know. I really consider not much to say about it other than it looks fun to me, and like it looks like the other two, and yeah, they're making a fourth one already too. So there's
Oh
that.
my God. Yeah. Jeez. I
Yeah,
feel like the
yeah,
production of this movie has been very quick. Like I feel like we were just announcing this movie and now we have a trailer.
yeah. It does seem like
Yeah.
it went by really, really fast. It comes out November 14th.
Oh my
I
gosh.
guess
Wow.
I guess
Okay.
there's like not
That's
much to
early
really.
for a
I
trailer
mean,
of this
yeah,
length.
it's trailer. Yeah, and it was a long trailer too. I will also
Yeah.
throw that out there that it felt like it gave away a lot. But
The scene
maybe, you
the
know,
trailer made me think this movie's coming out in like July or something.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
I don't know if you have much more to add, but it's just like
Sadly, no.
it looks
I just had
entertaining.
yeah. You know what? I hope the fans of the first two movies enjoy this. It seems like it's like you said, going to be more of the same, which is great. If it's a winning formula, then it's cool. I think it would have been neat to maybe like mask the involvement of the other like notable castmates, like the other four horsemen, because the trailer opens up with Jesse Eisenberg mentioning like that they don't collaborate
No, they're
anymore, and
like,
then
yeah,
we
they're
see
dead
them
to him.
all. Yeah. So oh,
Yeah,
well, there's a missed opportunity maybe to marketing. What that I'm sure that all those faces are going to be a big part of why people go back to see the third one. So maybe that would have been too
yeah.
much of a risk. But yeah, unfortunately, just not really the series that ever really caught my interest. I wasn't a fan of the first one, but it
Yep.
is what it is.
Well,
Um,
we'll find out. Nice to meet. Now you know comes out November 14th. I'll be there. I'll just fill in Jacksonville whether or not it was good or
yeah,
not.
you let me know what you think when you see it. Um, this next trailer was interesting. A good little teaser.
Teaser.
I don't know anything about Spike Lee's next movie, but other than he's pairing up with Denzel Washington, it's called Highest to Lowest. Do we know? I didn't have the time to look it up before we
Well,
added it to the list here. But what is it all about? Because I enjoyed it, but I didn't really know what I was watching.
good teaser. I also love Spike Lee just doing what he wants because, like,
Yeah.
they were what they were announcing. They were gonna announce a certain day when it was gonna be announced for the Cannes Film Festival, and then he announced it a day earlier that it's gonna be not going to be shown out in competition at this year's Cannes Film Festival. And then they released a poster today saying the teaser was coming out tomorrow, and then he went on his Instagram page like basically like, "Fuck it, I'm releasing it today." So he released it today. um, it's a neo-noir crime thriller from Spike Lee. It is there Denzel Washington, his first collaboration in 19 years. I think the last one was
Oh my gosh.
Inside Man. So that was I think the last time they worked together. The movie is a English language reinterpretation of Akira Kurosawa's 1963 Japanese film High and Low, itself loosely based on the 1959
Okay.
novel King's Ransom.
Yes, I remember when this was originally pitched. Now, when you mentioned Akira Kurosawa, that's right. Forgot
which
all
is
about
such an
that.
interesting
Yeah.
thing to adapt. The synopsis says is when a Titan music model is targeted with a ransom plot, he is jammed up in a life or death moral dilemma. They haven't really released a lot of what this take is going to be, but it also stars Jeffrey Wright, Ice Spice, who's a singer, I believe, in her film
Oh my
debut,
gosh.
and ASAP Rocky. But I guess because it takes place in the world of music, that makes sense.
Okay,
But
I suppose. Yeah.
you're still like, no.
I mean, I have more faith in ASAP Rocky as an actor than I do Ice Spice as an actor. I don't know. Oh my God. But anyway, I have trust in Spike Lee. You know, he's a legendary filmmaker, and I think he knows what he's doing behind the camera. So,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get over how youthful Denzel Washington still looks in his age. Like,
Yeah,
I guess maybe because
he's in
like,
his 70s. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
Gladiator
I,
2 just had him rocking like the silver hair. So like maybe seeing that absence in this trailer made me think that he looked younger, but I was like, man, he is aging well.
yeah, and I think I think he also knows that he's getting older. So like his next few projects, he seems like he really wants to work with certain people and like uh do certain films. Like I remember they announced like he was like retiring, and he like clarified that he's like, no, I don't have plans to retire at these certain movies. I just like I think he wants to do movies, and then he's on Othello and Broadway like with Jake Gyllenhaal. He wants to do a lot of stuff. He wants to direct again.
Cool.
Like yeah, he's at that stage in his career where I think he kind of is more selective. But I think working with Spike Lee again is a good move, and this sounds really interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, my only gripe is I guess the deal they made. It will be released by A24 on August 22nd and it's gonna have a 2-week theatrical run before being available on Apple TV Plus on September 5th. So it's getting a 2-week run, I guess, to qualify for potential awards if there is any for it,
Okay.
and then it's going streaming. I guess that is the deal that A24 worked out. Some people were like really against that today when the teaser came out because they're like, why would you like limit this movie by Spike Lee and featuring Denzel Washington and limit it to basically a streaming release with a 2-week theatrical window, but at least there is a theatrical window. Like some of these, something like Netflix
Better
doesn't
than
give you any.
nothing.
So yeah, so
I feel us creeping ever closer to that as a mainstream release strategy, and I don't like it. But it's I guess it's just a sign of the industry evolving. But I'm sure
yeah,
that this is going to be more the norm going forward.
yep, I agree. In our last trailer, we had a tiny teaser for it that we talked about on one of our last news episodes, and the teaser, like Jackson hadn't watched the teaser before we did the episode, but he like kind of like had it on and was reading about it as we were like without the sound on, but he was like, even without the sound on, it looked interesting. But now we got like a full official trailer, and much like you were worried about with Weapons, I was worried about watching a full trailer for this because I didn't want it to give too much away. I mean, I already knew the plot and that it's going to be a body horror film that kind of is a comment on like codependency and relationships and all that
Right.
stuff.
I think that's a great new duality there.
Yeah, and it doesn't show a lot, but I think what it hints at showed enough where you can see where this is going to be a very gross body horror movie, or the potential is there. Like that, there's that one moment where they're like kissing in the trailer, and their like bottom lip gets like stuck to each other, and they have to like basically like yank apart. And they're like, it's a scene where he's in the shower and she's driving a car, and it looks like her movements in the car, like moving his body around in the shower, which like a lot of
very
stuff like sounds so
voodoo-esque.
interesting. Cool. Yeah. And the end of the trailer, she grabs like a power tool, and it looks like they have to cut each other apart at some point. Like that's what it kind of moves to at the end. And I don't know, there was like a lot of cool stuff that they didn't show a lot of. They just kind of showed hints of, and I thought it was really good, and it looks really interesting. And like when it premiered at Sundance and was sold and was bought up by Neon, they said that it was the talk of that festival. Everyone loved it. Everyone was like laughing and then like grimacing at how gross the movie was, but also said how smart the movie was, and kind of has this like, even though they're not playing themselves, like it's kind of meta quality watching this couple who's married in real life play.
Right, I love that part.
A fictional couple like this. I'm all in on it. But what do you think after?
I thought the trailer was awesome. I love the sound of it. Like it just seems like did we clarify? Is this an A24? Because if not, it's like very Neon. Okay, that was
Neon got it.
Yes, this sounds like and looks like a movie that is like definitely part and parcel of their winning formula. Like I have no gripes with it at all. I think it looks great. I think it's really interesting that the leads are married in real life and that chemistry that'll bring. And it just looks like depraved and gory and gross, and I can't wait to see it. And I'm glad that the trailer was mostly ambiguous. We get glimpses at stuff that seem to suggest where the plot might go. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It looks honestly really, really great. So very much looking forward to that. One of the better trailers. One of the trailers I was more excited to talk about today, that and Weapons for sure, were there's a lot of promising horror coming out later this year. It's already been a strong start too.
Yeah, it's been a really good year for her. I mean, and I think we've been on that run for like a while. Like, I mean, it's hard to think that there's a period where like, where people were like, oh, horror's dying, there's no original ideas. And like, I feel like this has been a consistent run of them, like, for a while now, where there hasn't been like a real lull. I mean, there's always gonna be some stinkers, but we've had like a real good run with like really interesting, unique horror movies. This one comes out July 30th, and looking forward to it. I'm not sure which one. I mean, I think Weapons, maybe a little bit more, but I am intrigued by this, and I actually am intrigued based on how the Substance did, and this being a body horror movie. If this will do well, like similarly well, like in that regard. Neon knows how to promote their horror movies, though, so I think that they're doing a good job so far and selling it, and also good use of the song "Happy Together" in the trailer too. I thought that was really, I thought that was really funny as well.
Agreed.
But yeah, looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward. I think I'm looking forward to all of these, except you're not looking forward to Now You See Me Now You Don't. But one out of the few that we talked about ain't bad for the record.
Exactly. It's a pretty good batch of trailers overall.
Yeah. And guys, that will do it for our news episode 238. There wasn't a lot to cover, but definitely some stuff that was worth talking about. Thank you again for listening. If you like what you hear, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. But you can also find us on the Playlist Studio app. They are a network and they do a good job for us behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff that's coming very soon, a lot of behind the scenes things that we'll talk about soon-ish, as soon as we finalize them all. But we're all very excited for what the show is going to be doing soon. Some of them are like minor cosmetic changes, other of them are bigger changes. But we are going to be giving you a very, very good show that's continuing to evolve, and we're very excited for it. And we're glad that Playlist is on board with us as well. And honestly, them suggesting most of these changes because they believe in the show. So
they're in our corner,
that's another selling point. Yeah, so I really love that as well. You can also find us on YouTube, where we will be adding more stuff soon. It's a busy time for both of us, but we will be doing more short form content to add to the YouTube channel. And I guess the one thing that we can say, eventually these will be live streamed at some point. We have to talk about the nuts and bolts of all that, but eventually you'll be able to just check us out on YouTube as we're doing the show. But that's one of the things that's coming. I think that's one thing that can be revealed right now as far as what changes we're going to be doing for the show. So we're excited. And again, thank you, Jackson. You did 2 episodes today after a lot of delays from the last week.
Yeah, that's all good. You and me both.
But glad we got them in. And looking forward to more news and more anniversaries coming your way, guys. Thank you all for listening as always. And I want to mention this too. The stuff on Good Pod has been really good for us lately too. We're still in the top 5 on their film reviews chart. Occasionally we shoot up to number 1. I talked to a lot of the guys who we swap with like number 1, number 2, 3, 4, and 5. And they're happy to be swapping with us in that position. Nice. So it's like other independent shows that are supporting each other, and talk to them about wanting to do stuff together in the future, because we still want to like bring different podcasts on and different guests on as well. So that platform, like so many places to listen to us on, but that platform is good just to get not only to find like some kind of audience for independent podcasts, but also it links you with other independent podcasts that you can possibly work together. So just wanted to shout that out as well.
Yeah, right on, guys. Well, again, thank you very much for tuning into another episode and joining us while we discuss some industry news. It's always great to have you guys listen, and appreciate you guys tuning back in. We'll catch you on the next one.